It's a Monday edition of PFTOT, the spot where we talk about the things we either didn't get to or we would like to spend more time talking about. And the decision of the Jacksonville Jaguars to waive running back Leonard Fournette, that's the big news in the NFL right now. It's been announced by the team. It's official. He will go to waivers because he doesn't have 4 full seasons in. And, I'm amazed at the number of people who are presuming that the Jaguars are tanking and that Leonard Fournette being waived is evidence of it. Folks, they tried to trade him back before the draft, right? They haven't wanted this guy around. They weren't able to find a trade partner. They brought him to camp, and now they made the decision that maybe they'll get lucky and someone will claim him and they will avoid $4.167 million in cash and cap space that otherwise is guaranteed. It's on the books unless they prevail in the grievance that has been pending for a couple of years as they try to get that guarantee removed from the final year of his contract. It's not tanking. Look, why would they tank? Doug Marrone and Dave Caldwell will be long gone if the Jaguars are tanking. It'll be someone else using those draft picks. It'll be someone else building that roster. This is not a tank. This is a make chicken salad out of something else for the Jaguars in moving on from Leonard Fournette because they just don't think he fits Jay Gruden's offense, period.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it and I don't in some ways. I think the first thing is, I understand, Jay Gruden, it's a West Coast offense. Maybe he wants more of the Alvin Kamara, threat out of the backfield in the pass game type running back. That's where you hear about Chris Thompson, right, who was in Washington with Jay Gruden out of Florida State. He is awesome that way. Fournette, anybody can use an in-between-the-tackles type runner. That's where I would just push back against that notion. Like, well, I mean, do you have running plays that run in between the tackles? Oh, you do? Well, then Leonard Fournette can fit in your offense. Now, does he fit the full scope? No, certainly not. There's got to be an issue, something that has arisen. And whether that is Chris Thompson getting more snaps or somebody else getting snaps or Fournette getting taken out in passing situations during training camp, and that's caused them to be pissed off or whatever, or caused friction here, I don't know, because it's still – as much as we know he's kind of been a pain in the butt for this organization, this is still surprising. We're going 13 days before a real football game, and he's gone. And I think, like you've mentioned, it's a pretty steep price tag, but I think he's talented enough that somebody is going to pick him up on waivers, and I'll just be interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, and you know what? We've been talking about the teams that should be interested, could be interested, maybe will be interested. Again, they have to be willing to commit $4.167 million. And who knows? Look, the Jaguars are banking on someone saying, we'll take it on. And we talked about Washington earlier with Darius Geis gone.
Right.
It looked like it was going to be the Adrian Peterson show. Would you rather put your eggs in the Adrian Peterson basket, or would you rather roll with Leonard Fournette in basically the same role, Chris?
Yeah, you're right.
As much as it pains me to say it, I'd probably rather go with Fournette.
Yeah.
He's a lot younger, and he's got a hell of a lot more of an upside right now.
No doubt. I think that's the big thing. I mean, Adrian Peterson's a legend, first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest I've ever seen. I don't think he's as good as Leonard Fournette is right now. I mean, Leonard Fournette, at his size with his power, he's still – he had an 80-something yard touchdown last year. He's a home run hitter that way. We've seen him last year in games, the Broncos, right? He took over the game. They're just, again, I go back to one of my old phrases that I like to say. There ain't a lot of people on earth built like Leonard Fournette who can move the way he can. So that's where he's a special commodity. And, it's just I'm shocked that this has come to this as far as, the Jaguars just releasing him. But, Washington, and then you go through a few teams. I don't think like picks 2, 3, or 4 in the draft. Detroit, they got 2 running backs. You said it on the show.
DeAndre Swift is hurt, though.
He's hurt, right? So maybe they'd want to go there. I don't know, but I doubt that with thinking he might be back at some point. The Giants with Saquon Barkley, I'm with you there. I don't think that happens. The Bengals with Joe Mixon, no. The Dolphins at pick 5 and the Chargers at 6 are the first 2 teams I look at to go, ooh, they might be interested.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially because there's already a sense that he's going to end up in New England if he passes through waivers entirely. So the best way for the Dolphins to keep that from happening is to squat on Leonard Fournette when you have the opportunity to do so. He makes the quick trip from Jacksonville to Miami, and Brian Flores, you make that investment for 1 year, and you're spending $4.1 million to evaluate the player and see if he's your future at the position.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And he did have a good year last year. Maybe this is the wake-up call he needs. Maybe this is an extreme example, right? Maybe this is 30 years later, the Philadelphia Eagles, all he does is catch touchdowns, decision to waive Chris Carter. Maybe it's the same thing, where this is what wakes him up. Now,
right.
Chris Carter had different issues than Leonard Fournette, but maybe this is the wake-up call. Teams always want the guy to get his wake-up call while he's still on the team. You don't want his redemption to come. You don't want that great second act to come with a second team, especially if it's a team in your division or a team that you're going to have to deal with on a regular basis. But, this isn't just throw out the trash. This just could be the Jaguars at their wits' end, trying to avoid that $4 million, recognizing he's not going to be with the team next year when they really try to load the cannon. Let's go ahead and unload him and save the money and let someone else jump on this guy, and maybe he ends up being a good player somewhere else.
Yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see where it goes.
Okay, what about...
You think the Jets? You think the Jets would take a flyer on him with Le'Veon Bell in that situation and Frank Gore at his age?
That's a lot of money tied up in the running back position because they're not getting away from Le'Veon Bell. unless they trade the Jets, unless they trade Le'Veon Bell to the Jaguars, which I doubt the Jaguars are going to want to do. It just seems like too much money. What about the Raiders?
Yeah.
They got Josh Jacobs. Would the Raiders be interested in Fournette?
I can't imagine. I mean, I would feel like, if Jay Gruden wouldn't want a Fournette in his offense, I'm sure he's called his brother to go, I don't want this guy in my offense, so I don't know if you're going to want him in your offense, which is similar to mine, right? So I can't imagine that. Plus, I think Jacobs is so the guy. Now, the other team that you look at here as you start to go through waivers and you start to think about top picks in the draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got running back. I know they got LaShawn McCoy. I know.
Now, McCoy.
Right,
no,
exactly.
Ronald Jones is their guy.
Ronald Jones
is their guy.
They drafted the kid Vaughn out of Vanderbilt in the middle rounds. Right. So, again, I'm just throwing teams out there where I could go, okay, well, I know Leonard Fournette's better than Ronald Jones. I know that. Now, do you want to deal with it? Do you want to pay him the money? That's a whole different thing. But it's just a team that I could see it at least go, and I go, that makes sense. But after you get to that, then I feel like we don't really think about anybody until Pittsburgh again. And Pittsburgh had, I don't know why. Anybody else in between there, you think?
I got the Eagles here.
Oh.
I got the Eagles.
No.
The Rams. The Rams, who do they have?
Yeah,
they got a three-headed monster because no one is stepping up.
Right. They got the Cam Akers, the Darrell the kid from Memphis.
Henderson.
Yeah, Darrell Henderson. Yep. Right. So, I've heard Cam Akers has been doing well out there. But you're right. That's another team you throw out there. I didn't get to the Eagles yet just because I knew they were in the playoffs and Pittsburgh would have the waivers before them. But I could maybe see the Rams. We even talked about the Bears. Is the Bears?
I didn't see Pittsburgh on the list because they're not on the draft list because they sent their first-round pick to Miami. So, yes, the Steelers are ahead of the Eagles. So you're right. They would have dibs over Philly. What about the Bears, though? They would have dibs over both of those teams.
Yeah, the Bears, to me, that would be something I'd be thinking about. Now, I know they like, and I'm pulling up their roster as we go, but we know David Montgomery got hurt. I am one that is not necessarily the highest on David Montgomery as far as a football player. I wouldn't want him to be my starting go-to guy, but I feel like they maybe feel differently about that. But to me, that would definitely be an upgrade as far as David Montgomery to Leonard Fournette.
Let me self-correct myself here. The Bears are actually one spot behind the Steelers. Neither the Bears nor the Steelers had first-round picks last year. The Bears because of the Khalil Mack trade from 2 years ago. The Steelers because of the Minka Fitzpatrick trade. The way that it falls, Steelers would have been 18. Bears would have been 19. Steelers have dibs over the Chicago Bears. So I think that if he's – and here's the thing. Here's how it works. You don't – it's not like you sit around the room and the Bengals go first and then the next one. No, you put in your claim.
Right.
And they used to publish who made the waivers claims. Now it's very, very guarded. But for one like this, I think this is one where hopefully someone will blab about all the teams that put in waivers claims, Chris, because there's a chance. What's the over-under on waiver claims? 4.5?
I'll take the over. I think it's gonna be about 5-6 teams that go for him. I'm gonna go for the.
All right.
Yeah, you gonna go under or over?
Pete says under. I say under. You say over.
Yep.
4.5. Let's see what happens. We won't know until Wednesday. Let's try to remember. Pete, keep us honest. We will have moved on to something else by then. But how many teams made a waiver claim on Leonard Fournette? The over/under is 4.5. We'll put that on Twitter and get your thoughts as well. All right. Jaguars running back situation, as we said, Chris Thompson is flashing, but he's 5'8". He's not going to be the every down guy. There are other running backs out there. Devontae Freeman's available. There are some somewhat recognizable names. There always are recognizable names at running back because there are guys that we used to love to have on our fantasy football teams that just don't have it anymore. Is there anybody that comes to mind for you? Is there somebody? I mean, I'm thinking, is there a connection to Marrone? Is there a connection to Jay Gruden? Is there somebody that would make sense for the Jacksonville Jaguars? If Washington would get Leonard Fournette, could they trade Adrian Peterson to the Jaguars? Would that make sense?
Who knows? And the crazy thing with the running back position is you don't, this is where no preseason stinks. We get no context clues. But I wouldn't be shocked if a guy I know that was like, that I love coming out in the draft is already on their roster. Raquel Armstead from Temple. I think they had plans to play him last year, and he got hurt early in the year. But I think he could be an actual guy. Mike, in my draft rankings 2 years ago, okay, I had this guy I thought he was the second best running back coming out in the draft. I thought he was a damn good football player. So we'll see. Maybe he's on the roster. But as far as guys that are out there on the street right now, there's nobody that pops off to me as I sit here and think about it to where I just go, oh, that would make sense to get him in there and get him. Jay Gruden, ex-running backs. Is there anybody else we're missing out there? That's what I'm just trying to think, and I'm trying to pull up a list of some guys here as we go.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah,
and it's hard because the list is picked over. It's hard to find a list of guys currently available. But Freeman is out there. He was cut by the Falcons earlier this year. He's been waiting and waiting and waiting. Marshawn Lynch is available.
Yeah.
I have a feeling he will not be playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But there are some guys out there. You hear the name and you're like, oh, yeah, he's still around, but that doesn't mean that it's going to work.
Right.
And it may be they just go next man up. I mean, look, you don't make this move if you're not comfortable with the guys that you currently have.
That
may be what they do.
I think that's it. I think between the things you've heard about Chris Thompson, he's talented as hell, and then maybe one of these other guys that just we don't know about that's impressed him enough to go, hey, the hell with this headache of Leonard Fournette. Let's just get him the hell out of here and move on with our football team.
Didn't we mention Fournette earlier in the show when we were talking about guys who leave school early or should have left school early? I mean, I always think of him with Jadeveon Clowney.
You brought him up.
Clowney first. Clowney was the first one that should have sat out a whole year, and then Fournette should have sat out a whole year because I feel like in that last year, there's a certain amount of a tentative quality that creeps into that game.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it carried over Fournette to the NFL, but he's never been at the NFL level. The guy, remember when he emerged on the scene at LSU, we're like, this is the next Jim Brown. This is the guy that's going to take the NFL by storm, and obviously that hasn't happened.
No, it hasn't. But, again, I think the guy's more talented and physically gifted than he gets credit for. Again, the first 2 years of his career, there was 10 people at the line of scrimmage going, Blake Bortles can't throw at 4 feet, so we don't care. We're going to stop Leonard Fournette. And they still kept running Leonard Fournette. So he's never had that. And then, of course, he himself has caused some bumps in the roads as well. But, man, I challenge anybody, go back, watch some of his highlight runs. They're pretty special, as far as what he can do. And I don't think we've seen the best of what he can really do because he hasn't been put in a spot that can support him enough yet to really just let it unleash. So we'll see. That's what I'm betting on. But I've been wrong before, and we'll see where that goes.
He had a 90-yard touchdown run against the Steelers as a rookie. He had that 81-yarder last year. He had over, I'm doing the math here real quickly, 1,600 yards from scrimmage last year.
Yeah.
1,600 yards from scrimmage.
Right.
And he's available.
Yeah.
And he's young.
Yeah.
He's got 3 years of NFL wear and tear, and he's big and he's strong. And remember when we talked about him? That was a day you were on the show. We had the video of him, and he looked like Batman.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh.
I was scared. The video intimidated me.
He's
the
chiseled.
guy is he is huge.
He is. He's a freak of nature. It's why you're talking about it, Mike. I mean, it's why he was one of those guys where after his redshirt freshman year, you went, he could leave for the NFL right now. He's ready. You know, and really it became an underwhelming last year at LSU because he got a really bad high ankle sprain early in the year, and he had a fight with that all year. And it led to some underwhelming games early on in that year that I think hurt his stock to a degree. But we'll see where it goes from here. I really do. I think that some team could get a gem right here as far as a steal on waivers that can really improve their football team.
And for those of you that didn't see it that day, when you know that phony Batman chest plate that is all chiseled, Fournette was talking with something that was kind of both tight and loose fitting. It was this black
shirt. It was like
shirt,
one of those black get-in-shape
like,
shirts that like keeps the sweat in almost or something.
And you could see the outline of the Batman fake chest plate, although I assume he wasn't wearing the fake Batman Ben Affleck costume under that shirt. That's really how he's built. And man, he's got the potential to be really good here. This is something, and it's going to make for a fun Tuesday.
It is.
And look, here's the other thing too. I mean, it's been officially announced. You know, we see from time to time that there will be a report or an announcement that a guy's being released. Now, I don't know that the Jaguars can take it back now that they've officially announced it, but how many times have we seen guy's going to be released and then before the end of the day he's traded?
He's traded, right.
That happens. That happens all the time.
I can see that.
You smoke them out, and try to get somebody to give something. Conditional 7th-round pick, the honorary Ross Tucker pick, anything.
Yeah.
Which makes me think, Chris, back to our over-under. You say over, I say under. I'm more inclined to say under. I think if there were 4 or 5 teams that were likely to make a waiver claim, somebody would say, we'll give you a 7th-round pick for this guy's contract.
I would think so, too. You're right. I mean, you're right. I wonder how much conversations have gone on with Jacksonville trying to trade him. Those are things I don't know. Try to find out. But, I mean, I really think this could be the kind of guy by the end of today, he can make you look differently in a team. Like I said, if the Pittsburgh Steelers get him off of waivers or somehow get him, I'm going to look at Pittsburgh and go, whoa. Mike might need to put the Steelers like 3 spots higher on his power rankings. That's going to change the thought of how they run their offense, how dangerous they are, and what they can do. He to me is a game-changing type player for especially a team that's a playoff caliber fringe type football team.
Yeah, I'm looking into this question of whether or not they are prevented from basically keeping him and trading him, even though they've announced that he's
I would
been
think
waived.
you could,
it's
right?
It's not official until 4 o'clock.
Right.
It's not official until 4 o'clock.
Right.
So it's not that big of a conspiracy. Who's saying that? Hey, Matt Casey's not producing the show today. Matt Casey, mind your own damn business. It's not a conspiracy. It happens all the time.
It does.
We see it all the time.
Like last week, I feel like.
It was the running back from the Dolphins.
Right.
They're waving him. Oh, they traded him to the Jets.
Yes.
It happens all the time.
Yes, Kalen Ballage, who then failed his physical and had to go back to Miami, right?
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.